I've sold out my Twitter as well. So.
Yeah, it's good. So what's your handle?
Handmade Moon.
Handmade Moon. So yeah, how did you go about building the world of Warcraft using, I presume it's like largely CGI?
Well, you know, it was always important that we tried to get as much in camera as we could, but we made a decision early on that those guys are not going to happen with prosthetics. You know, it's just not realistic. So we made the decision that the orcs would be full motion capture in a similar way that the apes were in the Planet of the Apes movies recently. But where we could and how we could, we would put as much in camera as possible. So we had this amazing guy, another Brit, Gavin Bouquet, who was our production designer, and he built these extraordinary sets up in Vancouver where we filmed. And you know, vast amounts of the film, at least on the setting side, are in camera because we built these beautiful sets. But the orcs were always going to be, there's a huge amount of visual effect shots though. So we had to be, you know, we had to have a real strategy about how we were going to approach it. That didn't make any sense to me.
That makes sense.
It made sense in my mind.
It makes sense when you play it back. And what made you choose this story in particular, orcs versus humans?
Well, you know, Blizzard had been trying, I think Blizzard and Legendary together had been trying to make a film of Warcraft for a while. Sam Raimi was attached and was working on it for a while. And they never quite, you know, got through the maze of how to make it work. One of the things that I suggested when I came in and pitched, you know, they had already been talking about, well, this should really be a first contact story. Let's go back to when orcs and humans first met, which made absolute sense. And I think that, you know, that's what we've done. But what I suggested is, look, what makes Warcraft on the game side work so well is that players choose to be on either side, and they tell the story from their perspective. So you have to be able to empathize with both sides. And my pitch was, look, let's tell a war story where you show heroes from both sides and how they come into conflict because of a situation that they can't find a way to avoid. So it really is a war story. This could not be based on Warcraft. I think the fundamentals that make it work on a story level come out of something that is not dependent on the game. It just happens to fit beautifully with what the game is.
So does that make it easier to pitch to audiences, do you think? The fact that it's a familiar kind of structure that they've seen before?
Yes, I mean, I think it certainly makes it something which is an audience. The film is designed to be for an audience who may not have played the game, who may know nothing about the game. It's a film, and it works in its own right. But yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
What was it like taking on such a huge, epic project like this?
You know, I feel very fortunate that I've had the chance to take a couple of steps. You know, I did a lower budget film with Moon, then I did a kind of a medium budget film with Source Code, and then I did this.
Yeah.
There are some guys who come straight out of advertising or music videos or, you know, production design, never having actually, you know, directed a film or even a short film before.
Yeah.
I needed that experience. Not everyone does, but for me, I think it was really important that I had that opportunity to kind of learn a lot of lessons before I jumped into something of this magnitude.
Were there any holdover elements from the previous, like the Sam Raimi version, or did you start complete blank slate?
We started from scratch, completely blank slate. I think I've read one of the drafts from early on, and it's a whole different story that we're telling, different characters even. It's completely different.
Is this a universe you want to continue to explore, or is this like a big budget thing you want to stay with, or are you kind of like going to go to something smaller after this?
And how many have they signed you for?
I really hope that the audience is going to be out there and is going to come out and support this film. I would love to get to do another one. There's 11 months between now and when this film comes out. I'm hoping to sneak in a little indie sci-fi thing before this comes out. And then if I can do that, or even if I can't do that, I would, you know, I've worked really hard with Chris Metzen and the guys at Blizzard to work out what this story is and where this story might go. If we had the chance to do a trilogy and do 3 films, I think we know in rough blocks what those 3 movies would be.
So this is when you're working on this as a standalone film,
Yes.
not exactly like a big franchise build-up per se. But
It works.
story.
It works as a standalone. It would absolutely lend itself to a continuing story for 3 films because that's how we kind of planned it out.
So Duncan, I mean, video game fans are pretty rabid, especially when it comes to Warcraft.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I would imagine you'd be under a little bit of pressure from wanting to please the fan base. And how did you make the marriage between pleasing the fan base and making a quality film?
I mean, I think the absolutely key ingredient right from the start was to work as closely with Blizzard as I could. So working with Nick Carpenter and Wei Wang, who's an amazing concept artist who works at Blizzard, and Chris Metzen, of course, and making sure that we kept the DNA of what made the game work and stuck to the lore as much as we could. Now, there are always going to be moments where we're going to have to take license in order to make things work in a linear narrative over the duration of a film. But we have done our absolute best, and I think we've been very successful in keeping to the lore of Warcraft, and at the same time making it accessible to people who don't know anything about Warcraft.
Excellent, thank you.
Do you think we're on kind of the advent? We're in the middle of the comic book movie renaissance.
Yes.
And right now there's lots of studios pouring money into video game movies, like
Yes.
Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Warcraft.
Yes.
Do you think that's possible, a video game movie renaissance?
I think someone's going to have to strike gold first,
Yeah.
and then the floodgates will open. Like after. I hope and believe it's going to be me. I mean, not me, but it's Warcraft. I mean, we've made a film that is now pretty much complete. There's 10 effect shots that need to be dropped in, but pretty much everything else is done. So I've had a chance to show the finished film to a number of people who I respect and trust, and know are going to be honest with me about how they feel about the film, and they've loved it. So I feel like, I know that we've got a good film. So I just have to wait 11 months. I just sit on my hands and wait. Hopefully, marketing will do their job. Our biggest challenge, I think, is to make sure that people who are not Warcraft players know that it's a film that's for them as well. And I think when Peter Jackson first did the first Lord of the Rings movie, I remember a little bit of people saying, "Well, I haven't read Tolkien. Can I enjoy that movie?" And they did an amazing job of letting people know you don't have to have read all of the Tolkien books. Come and see this movie. It's going to be something for you. And they did a wonderful job with that. We have to do the same thing.
And you mentioned you're doing a little indie, so you're hoping to do a little indie sci-fi
Yeah.
film. Can you tell us anything about that?
I'm going to work hard to see. There's my Don Quixote, my sci-fi film I've been trying to make for 12 or 10 years at least, called Mute. I'm hoping to do that. So we'll see if I can make it happen.
Is that going to be filmed in the UK?
It will probably be in Europe, but it's too early to know. We got a lot of stuff to work out to make it happen.
Have you found it difficult, like back when you were making British films, there's not as much money in the British film industry, how much money there is kind of comes from
It depends what you want to do, and it really, I don't know. I mean, I think there are some support structures in British filmmaking which are unique, and if you can find a way to play the game, I think you can get stuff made in the UK. But you have to be creative, and you can't be put off. I mean, you've really got to just keep getting back when you get knocked down, and it's hard work everywhere. But it's hard work in the UK. I remember playing that game. One of the reasons I came over to the US and have been enjoying working over here is because of how tough it can be in the UK. But it can be done. It can be done.
Was there anything in the game that you really wanted to get in, but you just couldn't quite fit in at the last minute?
Well, it's always painful when you cut stuff out of a film, and sometimes you just have to do it for time, or sometimes something works so beautifully as a scene on its own, but it just doesn't fit in the film. It's just not quite telling the story that needs to be told, but it's just a beautiful little single thing. So yes, there are pieces that we had to cut out. My editor on this film was Paul Hirsch, who worked with me on, I worked with on Source Code. And Paul did a few films. He did Star Wars, first Star Wars. He's amazing. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He did Ray. Anyway, he's an amazing editor, and we made sacrifices over the course of the edit for time or for reasons, as I said, where things didn't really fit with the story we're trying to tell. So hopefully, with the way filmmaking gets done, you make the film, you release it in the cinemas later on, you release it in other formats. If it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD eventually, I'm hoping we'll put all of those extra pieces, maybe not in the film, but on the DVD to be able to watch. No, there's lots of great stuff that did get cut out, but that only makes what's left in the film even better.
What was one of the funnest aspects that you had while making the movie? Like, what was the one?
I think working with my orcs, with my orc cast, Rob Kaczynski and Toby Kebbell and Clancy Brown, the Kurgan from Highlander.
Hell yeah.
Just amazing, fun people. And Daniel Wu, of course. Just really fun gang of guys. And the great thing is, you get them in silver pajamas and you cover them in little, motion capture dots. All of their inhibitions drop away. You can't be a pretentious actor anymore when you're wearing silver pajamas. So these guys were just having fun, and working with those guys in particular was really good fun. I miss hanging out with them.
Awesome.
Awesome done.
Thank you.
Thank you.